All right, guys, good evening and welcome back. All right, so this video is going to share with you guys some formulas I use in my sewing career. Now, these formulas has been of great help to me, and I have used this for more than 10 years of my sewing career. And then I thought it wise to share them with you, and this will cover a wide range of aspects of sewing. Now, I know I might have shared this video or these formulas initially with you guys, but I want to give it to you like a special lecture so you understand. So, without wasting your time, let's get down to the first formula I use. Now, the first we are going to handle here is the crotch. We're going to handle the crotch. Now, the crotch, I believe you all know what the crotch is or what the crotch stands for. Now, the crotch is the distance, or what they call the flap, the distance from your waistline to the underleg, underneath of your leg. It's called the crotch. Now, this one has a different ways of calculating it, but I'm going to tell you the one I use so that you will check it out and then know or see how it works for you as well. So what you do is you have to use the person's hip measurements divided by 4, right? Now the hips over 4, that is the one of the formulas to calculate the crotch of a client. Now, whatever the hip is, you will divide by 4 and use the answer for the crotch depth. But before you do this, there is a consideration that you are going to make here. You are going to consider if the person is tall or short. Now, how do you know when a client is tall or short? Any length of trouser that is less than 39 is being considered as a short person. So what do you do in such situations? You are going to deduct half an inch, half from whatever answer you got from this calculation, right? So you might not have from that to get the crotch of a short client. That is for the crotch. I will make this video as fast as possible. But if the length of the person is from 39 and above, you don't need to deduct anything from the crotch, hips over 4. Now, the next I use here is my armhole. My armhole. Now, this armhole has different types of armhole. They have for short sleeve, for long sleeve, and they have for 3/4 sleeve. So, for 3/4 sleeve and long sleeves, these two types of sleeves are being considered as one. 3/4 sleeve and long sleeve are being treated as one. So how do you do it? Like I said, they have other ways to get this as well, but I will tell you the one I use often. So the one I use here often is always chest over 4, right? Now, when you divide chest over 4, you will get a value for your armhole. Now, the answer you will get here is for your short sleeve. It's for your short sleeve. Then for your long sleeves and 3/4, the formula is chest over 4 minus 1. That is for your long and 3/4 sleeves. Right? This is the formula I use. Now, the second formula I use is shoulder divided by 2. Now, I use this formula when the chest is very big or very large or very much, right? So I tend to compare the shoulder over 2 with the answer I will get from the chest over 4. So when I am able to compare this, I will be able to get something meaningful or reasonable, and then I will pick the one that I know that should work better for that particular client. But aside extra large people, normal regular sizes set over 4 works for all of them. Even for newborn babies, it works for them as well. So the armhole has been explained. Now the next thing I want to give you is how to calculate the neck of a client. Now, if you watch very well, my neck is sitting properly on my neck without any protrusion here or any wrinkles here. Now, even if I'm wearing a dashiki fabric, this is a dashiki outfit, right? But my neck is still lapped properly without being too tight or choky. Neither is it being too saggy as well. It's lapping where you should lap, and look at the back, sitting nicely on my neck. So now, this is a typical example of how your outfit neckline should sit beautifully on your neckline. So what is the formula for this? Now, the formula for this is that I divide the neckline measurement I have by 6, and then I will subtract 0.3 from the answer. I will use the lesser answer or the letter answer for the neck width, and then I'll mark the neck width for the measurement I got, and then I will add half an inch to that to get my neck depth, right? So let me put it on the board, should in case you want to see it written on the board. So neck measurement equals to n over 6 minus 0.3. That's for the width, right? For the width, and then the next should do n over 6 minus 0.3, then plus half equals to depth. So when you impute the value of your neck on this formula, you will see yourself getting a perfect result and perfect solution to your neckline divisions and answers. So now, when you are dealing on neckline, you should be very careful and observant, because if you ruin the cutting, it will be difficult for you to get it back again. So you need to be calculative enough to know when to deduct and when to add, because any slightest extra cut on the neck will affect the fitting, either being too tight or being too big as well. So having said that, now one of the formulas again I use for my fashion designing is that whenever I am working, I'll make sure I don't lack hemming gum, you know, what they call the matching gum, right? Or adhesive tape, right? So these stems or this gum is one of the best things that has happened to fashion designers recently, because most people did not know about it. Now, when it got to limelight, everybody started using it. So this adhesive tape helps to, you know, give your clothes finishing a perfect relaxation. In most cases, even if you are going to thread or hem that area, it's advisable that you use the hemming gum and place there before you thread it, so that it gives you a perfect fitting and finishing, right? So the next formula or the next thing I use as well is, in my calculations, I work with inches. I work with inches. I don't work with cm, because inches is mostly used by we Nigerians. So in as much as you might not be in Nigeria watching this video, but I will encourage you to work with inches. It is the widely accepted SI units of measurement. So now, when you know this as well, you should also know, or let me tell you that I also like working in yardage, in yards. Now, most people work in trouser lengths. I work in yards. 1 yard is 36 inches, while one length of trouser is 45. So when you have these things in mind, you tend to be more focused and more concentrated in whatever you are doing. Now, another trick or formula I use is that I make use of 2 types of iron. Now, one of the irons I use is called dry cell. The one I use in gumming or sticking material gum on the fabric and use it in doing some hard pressing. Then the steam iron, I use it in finishing, in folding, in getting the shape of a particular fabric to suit into what I want. Then these two irons cannot be used interchangeably. You must use them as of when needed. Now, when I'm working with costly fabrics like cashmere 220 and so on and so forth, I tend to use steam iron in gumming. Reasons being that steam iron is if you know how to use it and set it properly, it gives your fabric a soft handling or a soft pressing, unlike the dry cell that might be too hot and it might stain or give the fabric dents that might not come out well on the fabric. But steam iron hardly burns as long as the iron is good, is still in good condition, right? Now, the next thing I do is that I make sure I use big scissors in cutting. I use CEO size 12 in cutting. The least I use is size 10 in cotton, right? Now, why do I use that? I use it because I don't want to see black knuckles on my hand. As you can see, there are no black knuckles on my hand. No matter the number of years I have worked with these hands, now these things are going to make you, stand out unlike others. So when you use these scissors, you tend to handle bigger fabrics. All right. So now that scissors will help you, like I said, have a bigger control of your cutting, unlike the normal small scissors. Those ones are used on different parts, like cutting threads on weaving machine, doing your finishing, threading, cutting, and everything. Or when you are sewing, you can use it to cut your threads while sewing. But when you are cutting fabrics, it's advisable you use a big scissors so that you can have a bold control of the fabric. Now, the next thing I make sure I do is that I use particular gum on particular sections. For example, I use collar gum on collars, flaps, and pockets, and any area that I know collar gum should be used, I don't interchange. So I use hairstay, on some fabrics that are a bit thick, and use material gum on the fabric that are a bit light, so that it will increase the strongness of that neck area or any point I want to go. And I make sure I use white material gum on white fabrics or white hairstay on white fabrics, while I use the black material gum or my black hairstay on dark fabrics, and so on and so forth. Now, the next thing I do is that in my drafting, I have like 3 different methods of drafting trouser, for example. And the reason I have that method is because I know that body sizes and shapes differs. Not everybody will suit each method. So I have 3 methods, like I have 3 of them about. Now, there are some people you see, you change method of cutting. And why I did that way is because I want to give everybody that fitting that suits the person. Aside having a good measurement, you should have 2 to 3 methods of drafting trousers in particular, because shapes differs. There are some people that will be so robust, they are short, their legs are thin, but they have hip and waist. You don't use the method you use for a slim guy to draft for them. It might not work. So I have method I use for big people, slim people, and so on and so forth. So having said that, you should learn one of those methods from me. I think I have the videos on my channel. You can go through my channel to check trouser drafting. So now the next thing I do is that in measurement, I make sure that I cross-check my measurements before I start drafting. Whether I am the one that took the measurements, whether somebody sent me the measurements, or whatever, I make sure I go through it for the second time before I use it in drafting, because there might be possible error in jotting down the measurements, or there might be error from the one that's sent to you. So if you take your time to go through it, you could dictate any possible error before you make a callous mistake. So now, when you take your second time, to cross-check your measurements, you tend to avoid some possible mistakes that could have been made if you did not go through it. Now, the next thing I do is that when drafting, I make room or provision for allowance, inseam allowance, that even if this measurement was wrong and I did not dictate it, I can still adjust it from the inside allowance, inseam allowance I kept or I left. So now, if you notice, there is a maximum concentration from cutting to gumming and then finally to stitching. So every step I take, I tend to pay close attention to it, and I make sure that I study the style in question twice. I seek for opinion when there is a confusion, in as much as if you have students near you or within you, you could just tell someone, what do you think about this? So he or she will give you, when the person gives you her own or his own verdicts or thinking about the style, so you go ahead and cross-check it with your own particular style or mindset you have in mind, and then you go ahead to draft or cut. So now, the reason I'm trying to tell this to you is because I have heard and noticed that most oga, they don't seek for advice from their apprentices or from their colleagues. They feel they know it all, and they go ahead to make careless mistakes that could be avoided if they had interacted with their apprentices. In most cases, apprentices go a long way to help us, in assisting us and guiding us as well in return. Yes, they are all human like us. So now, the next I do is that I make sure I use exact fabric threads to sew or stitch any particular outfit. I make sure I don't compromise colors. Now, there are some colors that can be so hard to get in the market, so these colors can be exception to the thread selections. But then, on a regular, you should make sure you use exact colors of threads to thread every fabric, except when you're making some thread designs or some thread works. So now, I have a lot to share with you guys, but then I want to first leave this video to this point. So if you derive information or knowledge from what I have just said, please kindly subscribe to my channel, like this video, comment, please give me a thumbs up. It's very important because YouTube will always recommend videos that are engaging, that viewers are interacting, and suggest my videos to other viewers as well. Thanks for watching, guys. There will be an episode 2 to this video. Don't forget to like this video, share, comment, and tell me to continue sharing you the formulas and tricks that helped me so far in my fashion career. See you on the next one. Bye bye for now.